Tonight, presidential relief.
We have to get money out to the people.
Sidestepping Congress. President Trump declares it's time to act, signing a series of executive actions as the U.S. COVID case count crosses 5 million. Plus, Biden's big pick. The Democratic challenger is ready to announce his running mate. And religious resistance.
We do not bow to Caesar. We will not bow to Caesars.
A megachurch in California defies California's COVID restrictions, holding in-person, indoor services. And they're calling him the next Tiger Woods.
The mishit wedge.
The 23-year-old winner of the PGA Championship. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. Moved to take matters into his own hands. Welcome to Faith Nation, everyone. I'm Eric Phillips. President Trump's decision to act on COVID relief through executive order is getting pushback on Capitol Hill tonight. Democrats calling the move unconstitutional. This as roughly 31 million unemployed Americans enter another week without extra pay for clothing, housing, food, or childcare. Could the executive intervention restart negotiations? CBN's White House correspondent Ben Kennedy joins us with the details. Ben, good evening.
Well, good evening, Eric. Both President Trump and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin indicate they are open to more talks. As for that executive order you were just talking about, the big question is, does it cross a legal line?
This weekend, President Trump took executive action designed to provide the relief Democrats have denied to those who need it most.
Over the weekend, Trump signed 4 executive orders that would extend unemployment benefits, curb evictions, provide relief to student borrowers, and suspend collection of payroll taxes.
This is the money that they need. This is the money they want, and this gives them a great incentive to go back to work.
The $400 a week in additional unemployment payments is less than Democrats want and requires states to bypass Congress plus cover $100 of the benefit. Democrats say Trump's gone too far.
Associate myself remarks with Senator Sass, who says they're unconstitutional slop.
The president's executive orders, described in one word, could be paltry.
But Monday, the White House saying it appears lawmakers might be changing their tune. Trump tweeted, "So now Schumer and Pelosi want to meet to make a deal. Amazing how it all works, isn't it?" Pressure is on for another round of relief, with the U.S. now exceeding 5 million coronavirus cases and 163,000 deaths.
Now, President Trump's executive order does not include a second round of relief checks. It is an issue that has bipartisan support, so odds are if there is an agreement this week, it will include that. Eric?
A story we'll continue to follow, Ben. Thanks. Tonight, one of California's megachurches is defying COVID-19 restrictions to hold indoor, in-person services. In a message to church members ahead of yesterday's service, Grace Community Church Pastor John MacArthur said, quote, "God has not granted civic rulers authority over church members and how they meet."
We do not bow to Caesar. We will not bow to Caesar. Caesar is not our king. The Lord Jesus Christ is our king. We will be gracious, as we've always been. We will render to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, but we will not render to Caesar what belongs to God.
The church pastor in Sun Valley, California, received a resounding ovation from church members Sunday after meeting in violation of restrictions against singing, chanting, and indoor attendance.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to welcome you to the Grace Community Church Peaceful Protest.
You could hear the support that the pastor got there. Well, hydroxychloroquine has been around for 60 years and has been safely used to treat malaria and lupus. Some doctors swear by it in the treatment of COVID-19 as well. Others don't agree. But why its advocates shouted down it in public. Why did they do that in public square? What's really behind all the controversy? Dale Hurd has the story on what may be the first politically incorrect drug.
How did a drug known for decades as safe and effective suddenly become dangerous? Hydroxychloroquine is so safe that in several nations it's sold over the counter without a prescription. But the media has started treating hydroxychloroquine like a public health menace. And this pharmaceutical smear campaign began around the time this guy started talking it up.
I'm taking it, hydroxychloroquine. Right now, yeah. A couple of weeks ago, I started taking it. Because I think it's good. I've heard a lot of good stories.
Then came all the news stories about how hydroxychloroquine is somehow risky to take, or that it doesn't work against COVID-19. And when this group of physicians, calling themselves America's Frontline doctors, held a press conference in Washington to educate about COVID-19 and tell the truth about hydroxychloroquine, they got the same treatment the media's been giving the drug. Video of their press conference accumulated over 17 million views during the 8 hours it was hosted on Facebook. But when Donald Trump Jr. tweeted it, his Twitter account was restricted for sharing content that may pose a risk to people's health. Then all videos of America's Frontline doctors were stripped from Facebook and YouTube, and their website was taken down. An avalanche of negative stories began.
The impact of COVID misinformation, how it's hurting the fight on the front lines.
These experienced licensed physicians were called quacks, funded by dark money. And with USA Today reporting the doctors don't know what they're talking about.
So if you ask me if I expected that, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't know what to say to that. You know, I thought I lived in America. You had a bunch of doctors talking literally about science getting deplatformed. It's outrageous.
The group's spokesperson, Dr. Simone Gold, with over 31 years of experience in the medical field, says she was then let go by a hospital for what it called the embarrassing video.
I'm a board-certified emergency physician. We are pretty hard to come by, and suddenly they don't need me. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And all this over a drug many doctors believe is safer than Tylenol or aspirin.
It works. We've now shown it works, and we're still pouring hatred on this medicine.
The safety and effectiveness of hydroxychloroquine is certainly debatable. So why can't it be debated on social media? Why has a drug long considered by many doctors to be safe become the first politically incorrect medicine?
It's a political drug now, not a medical drug.
Dr. Harvey Rich, a distinguished cancer epidemiologist and professor of public health at Yale, told Fox News The Ingram Angle he believes hydroxychloroquine could save between 75,000 to 100,000 lives, but that it's up against corruption in the medical and pharmaceutical industries.
We're basically fighting a propaganda war against the medical facts.
I think initially the media just hated it because Trump liked it. You know, it fell into category orange man bad.
But hydroxychloroquine could also stand in the way of huge profits. It only cost about $10 a dose. New treatments about to hit the market could cost in the thousands.
The people who benefit from hydroxychloroquine being kept down fall into the following categories. Anyone who has a business interest that competes with hydroxychloroquine, and also politicians and leaders who are invested in keeping Americans in fear.
Dr. Anthony Fauci continues to say hydroxychloroquine doesn't work.
The overwhelming prevailing clinical trials that have looked at the efficacy of hydroxychloroquine have indicated that it is not effective in coronavirus disease.
But a recent Henry Ford Health System study of over 2,500 patients found that hydroxychloroquine worked. And there are far more studies showing hydroxychloroquine works than studies showing it doesn't. But it is primarily a prophylactic. Dr. Gold says it works best to prevent COVID or in the early stages of the disease.
It's essentially a magic bullet, especially if you use it early. Rarely have I seen anything in medicine work so well. It's not working like an antibiotic, taking days. When it works, if you give it early, it works within 24 hours. It's really, really dramatic, and it's really fast.
But use of hydroxychloroquine is now limited in 44 states, and state medical boards are reportedly threatening doctors who prescribe it, even though the FDA says the decision should be between a doctor and patient. Whatever the reason for the political opposition to this drug, it could mean one less tool that might save a life. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Coming up, the big reveal. Joe Biden is ready to make his announcement of his running mate. We'll have that straight ahead. You're watching Faith Nation.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
A high-stakes political reveal is expected this week. Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden will announce his pick for VP. Heather Sells has the latest on this hotly anticipated news.
The Democratic National Convention begins next week, and that timeline means the pressure is building for Vice President Biden to break the news expected in the next few days.
President, have you picked a running mate yet? Yeah, I have. You have? Who is it? Who is it? You.
It's a high-stakes decision that often makes or possibly breaks a campaign. Who Biden picks could bring energy, including a cash infusion, raise his profile with coveted voting blocs, and reassure voters worried about his age. They've seen clips like this.
Welcome to Kingswood Community Center. Actually, that's the one down I used to work. As a joke. You didn't know where we were anyway. It's great to be here.
Biden has promised to choose a woman. Many believe these are the top three. California Senator Kamala Harris, former National Security Advisor Susan Rice, and Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Harris, a former presidential candidate, was one of his toughest critics just months ago.
Do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No.
Do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America.
Rice is a friendly face and known commodity after serving with Biden in the Obama administration.
I will support wholeheartedly whoever he chooses to be his vice presidential running mate.
Whitmer brings Midwest credentials, hands-on experience, and made headlines combating the virus in Michigan. Biden's wife, Jill, says her husband wants someone with whom he's comfortable, similar to his relationship with former President Obama.
Trust is important to us, and I guess experience, wisdom, the things that you would want someone, he needs a partner in governing and someone who knows how to govern.
If elected, Biden would be 78 when he takes office. Many believe he'd be a one-term president, and that adds a lot of pressure on his running mate and his decision. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Here with us now is our very own chief political analyst, David Brody. And David, it's always a pleasure to have you. Now, from Heather Sell's reporting, it does seem as though Biden has narrowed down his contenders to a top three. Where does he stand to lose or gain in making this VP pick?
A lot. Look, this is not your typical VP pick where everybody gets kind of excited for a couple of days and then it goes wah, who cares? This is a big deal because, as Heather pointed out in her report, it looks like Joe Biden, if he were to get elected, would be a one-term president. And so, in essence, you're putting a lot on this VP to say, look, this is the kind of the commander-in-chief in waiting in 2024. So this is going to be a big deal. Really hard to say. You know, look, I've been on this program, Eric, saying Susan Rice, I think, would be the pick, and that would be the conventional pick. And what I mean by conventional is that Joe Biden wants someone he can trust with experience. As you heard Joe Biden say right there, look, if that's what he wants, if that's what he truly wants, Susan Rice is the no-brainer. Problem is that Susan Rice also has a lot of baggage, and it starts with the B word, which is Benghazi. So we'll see.
Yeah, like you said, David, this is not a want decision. Well, let's shift gears now. The president's executive actions. We saw the executive order that took place over the weekend. Are those actions legal?
Well, it depends, I guess, who you talk to. But I'll say this. Senator Ben Sasse, a Republican, got into some hot water on Twitter with the president today for saying they're unconstitutional. The Wall Street Journal also out saying, you know, the conservative Wall Street Journal out saying they're unconstitutional. Here's the bottom line. Who has the power of the purse? Does the president of the United States have the power of the purse as it relates to payroll tax, as it relates to unemployment benefits, or does the power of the purse reside with Congress? It's somewhat of a rhetorical question. We know the answer. It resides with Congress. And so if these are going to be monetary executive orders, if you will, it kind of reminds people of Obamacare and the individual mandate. And we're back to constitutional issues. So you'll see this in the courts is my sense, but we haven't seen anything quite yet.
Yeah, well, the president said he expects to get sued, as a matter of fact. And he said on Saturday when signing the orders that, quote, if we get sued, it's somebody that doesn't want people to get money. Now, politically, is he really banking on that?
Yeah, I think he's banking on it. And look, politically, and I'm saying politically, non-constitutionally, politically, it's a winning argument for the president, if you think about it. That the president is come out with an executive order, and I'll paraphrase basically, but look, he's giving people $300, $400 for unemployment benefits from the federal government. So who's going to be the Democrat or the person, most likely a Democrat, a liberal, that's going to now sue the president and say, no, Mr. President, we don't want you to give money to the American people. We're against that. Who's going to do that? Well, there are going to be some folks that'll do it, and the president believes that'll play to his hand to say, look, I'm fighting for the American people, and the Democrats are the ones that don't want to give you the money.
Some would call that a smart move on behalf of the president. Well, he said today that he has narrowed down the location of his Republican nomination acceptance speech to either the White House or Gettysburg. Now, are either of these options going to go over very well, David?
Sorry, I think I laughed out loud. I think that's where you insert the emoji. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. Look, Gettysburg, 3,000 people died. All right. So this might be the second Gettysburg address. Who knows? But I'll just tell you this. If it's going to be a Civil War battlefield, Gettysburg might be the place, because what's going on in this country culturally is Civil War for sure.
That it is. David Brody, thank you very much for joining us today, as always. Well, coming up, why the Trump administration is putting $35 million to aid human trafficking victims. That's next.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
And ministering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back. The White House is taking action to prevent human trafficking.
The scourge of human trafficking is the modern-day equivalent of slavery. Eradicating this horrific crime and helping its victims have been a top priority for President Trump's administration.
Attorney General Bill Barr joined with presidential advisor Ivanka Trump on Tuesday to announce more than $35 million in Justice Department grants to provide safe housing for victims of human trafficking. Barr said the DOJ would, quote, investigate, prosecute, and punish traffickers. Ivanka Trump called the plight of human trafficking the gravest of human rights violations. Well, joining me now with more on this very important topic is Timothy Head, Executive Director of the Faith and Freedom Coalition. Timothy, thank you very much for being here with us tonight. For our viewers who may not be familiar, talk about how much of a problem human trafficking is here in the United States.
Well, we talk a lot about drug trafficking, and we talk a lot about arms, gun trafficking, but the reality is that human trafficking has actually become the fastest growing illegal activity that's happening in the United States today, and in fact around the world. It's unfortunately it's a tragic but explosive and incredibly lucrative business right now around the globe.
Well, how important is it for the faith community to fight against this growing problem that you just described? And how should Christians go about doing that?
Well, from our perspective at the Faith and Freedom Coalition, the very same values and biblical principles that motivate us to support innocent life in the womb equally motivates us to defend and protect innocent life once born, and so this is a fundamental human right and a biblical perspective to say that every one of these victims is certainly created in the image of God and has dignity and value. So churches across the country and Christians themselves can take action, not only in political action. We're talking about public policy in the Trump administration's activity, but even a lot of churches across the country are taking matters into their own hands, either ministries reaching out to women that have been victimized or children that have been victimized, or holding Johns, the men who actually solicit prostitutes or underage girls, holding them accountable.
Yeah, I know your organization spends a lot of time working on this particular issue, and though it's everywhere, it's still somewhat hidden and subtle. What are the warning signs that people can look out for?
Well, it's a good question. One of the challenges that we do find is, and that sometimes we refer to that it is truly hidden in plain sight. So more and more airports across the country are having indicators or call numbers that you can call in public transit areas, airports. There are bus terminals, restaurants, et cetera. People that frequently there are an adult male might travel with a child that may seem sort of unusually gravitating towards the child and kind of making sure that the child can't move or can't can't navigate a restaurant or a bus cabin, et cetera. I think that it really just takes a heightened antenna just to be aware that this actually is happening more than any of us wish it was.
Absolutely, and it's good to know some of those warning signs so that perhaps we can take action if the opportunity presents itself. Timothy Head with the Faith and Freedom Coalition, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Coming up, he has the control, the confidence, and the PGA Championship trophy. See who some are calling the next Tiger Woods?
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
And finally tonight, while Sunday's PGA Championship leaderboard was stacked with some of the best names in golf, Collin Morikawa stepped up his game on the back nine with a risky drive and a perfect chip, sending him to the top. Morikawa shot 6 under 64, the lowest final round to win the PGA Championship in 23 years.
Lucky. Come back, go in the hole. Come back and go in the hole. Come back.
2020.
Morikawa joined Rory McIlroy, Tiger Woods, and Jack Nicklaus as the only 23-year-old winners of the PGA Championship. But his drive to pull ahead on the back nine is what has people talking. The young champion said the win gave him a lot of confidence and momentum, and that he is just getting started. A lot of eyes will be on him for years to come. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.